Welcome Home, a podcast for veterans, about veterans by veterans, is a project of Willing Warriors and the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run.
Good morning. I'm your host, Larry Ziliak, Director of Culinary Services here at the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run. And today we're going to have a conversation with our executive event chef, Ken Gardner. He is a chef who has done all of our events for how many years, Chef?
7 years now.
7 years. So welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So I want to talk a little bit about the visiting chef program, and that's how you started with us as a visiting chef, and then volunteered to take on an event, and then another event, and another event, and that led to a lifetime of different events for us, and we'll talk about that. But for our listeners who aren't familiar, the Visiting Chef Program is a program that we have here at the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run. When the guests check in on Friday, they do all their own cooking here at the retreat, except for Saturday and Sunday night. Now, we have two houses here, and on Sunday night in the larger house, the Lang House, Visiting Chef Night is Sunday, and the chef comes around 4 o'clock and prepares a meal. It usually takes an hour or a couple of hours, and then it's on their itinerary. The dinner is at 6. Now, each house has 5 bedrooms, so it could be up to 10 adults for a dinner, and that's Sunday night here in the Lang House. Next door in the Penn Fed House, we have dinners are done Saturday night, and the majority of those dinners are done by Presidential Food Service at the White House. They come out usually 2 or 3 chefs at a time, and they prepare a great meal for the family over there. And the way this whole thing works is before the warriors come, they fill out a 12-page questionnaire about their stay, and 2 pages of that are food questions. And it tells us their likes, their dislikes, what they wouldn't eat, gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, spice tolerance. Do they want to help the chef? So we know a little bit about them and what they like. And it's important because we don't want to serve fish to people who don't eat fish or are allergic to fish. So we have a really good idea of what they like. And then those pages go with a cover sheet to the visiting chef, who then creates a 4 or 5 course meal. And it's a great night. It's a lot of fun. We do have volunteer sous chefs. I think we have a great group of volunteer sous chefs who work with the visiting chef. Often they'll bring out their own people, but in some cases, they don't. They come out by themselves. Then we'll have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 sous chefs that are there to help. And a lot of times the family will want to help too. Mm-hmm. Do you remember your first family?
My first family that I had, where I actually took over as the visiting chef, I don't remember the family's name. I do remember it was a warrior and a group of her female battle buddies that she had. And we did a stuffed rolled pork roast for them.
Right. Okay.
That was...
It was a while ago.
I want to say June of 2017. 2016.
16.
Because my first 2 dinners I did here, after I came out and met you and Jim Cole, I did assisting other chefs just to see what the program was about and what all was involved before I made a commitment to do it. I wanted to see, what all goes into, in the whole serving process, not being a person who was professionally trained myself, not in the restaurant industry. I wanted a good idea of what all was involved. But yeah, it's ever since then, I believe we're up to my last count last year. I think I'm up to a little over 65 families that I've done the visiting chef for in that time.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And I remember 90% of them probably.
Mm-hmm. They do. They make an impact on you. They're. It's a great program. The visiting chef program is a really great program because one, it gives chefs a way to give back doing the thing that they love. Two, very often our warriors are young families that are not in a position financially to go out to Goodstone Inn or Salamander or Three Blacksmiths and pay $250, $300 for dinner for two. Um, so we bring that five-star culinary experience to them here at the retreat. And then there's also the issue of post-traumatic stress because many of our warriors have PTS. They don't go out to restaurants. It's too noisy. It's too much commotion. And so we get spouses that tell us, this is great because we haven't been to a restaurant in years. I do remember one warrior who had 10 kids. And they said, we just can't take 10 kids to a restaurant.
I could only imagine.
So this was awesome because they got that restaurant dinner here at the retreat with their kids. Their kids were actually fairly well behaved, I thought, in the setting that we were in, of course. And so they were grateful. They said, we do go out to restaurants, but usually it's like little Billy's having a birthday, so it's just the family and Billy or the folks and Billy. But it was quite a treat for them to have dinner like that all together.
And then, we also get the ones that have the physical limitations. We've had dinners that I've done where we had guests that were wheelchair bound. We had others. I believe I had one maybe about 3 or 4 years ago now that was an amputee. So you have not only the mental stress of getting into that public environment, you also have a lot that have the physical restraints,
mobility issues. Sure.
Yeah. And, at the stage of the recovery, a lot of times where we bring them in, the physical restraint adds on to the
stress,
mental aspect of it. A lot of these guests that we have are just phenomenally humble. And, they don't ask for help. They don't want help. And, having that limitation in a public setting, it just makes them uncomfortable, that the random person, hey, here, let me give you a hand, let me help you with that. It makes them uncomfortable sometimes when that is offered, even though that the person offering is got the best of intentions.
Yeah. Well, they're warriors, they're used to charging ahead full speed. And it's an adjustment for sure. Yeah. One of my favorite things about visiting Chef Night is the kids. The kids are just, we get them into the kitchen as much as we can.
Yeah.
And, we hear from parents a lot. I don't know if little Billy will eat that. I'm not sure that they're going to like that. And they scarf the food down. And all we do is we say, look, all we do is we want you to try it.
Yes.
And they eat things that are prepared by the chefs that they don't eat at home. And it's hard to tell mom or dad the reason is because you're not preparing it the way
you are mom or dad.
Yeah, a chef would. I get it. If they don't eat it after a chef has prepared it, then they're never going to like it.
Yeah.
And we're okay with that. But by and large, the kids will just gobble that food up. And Chef Ken makes the most amazing cheesecakes.
Here we go.
And they are just off the charts, phenomenal cheesecake. And if anybody even starts to write the word cheese on the forms, that means cheesecake again. And he's making cheesecake for dessert.
It doesn't even have to be that. I mean, I had one family that I don't remember the exact verbiage that they used, but they liked chocolate chip cookies. They liked mint chocolate chip ice cream. They listed something else for a cake, different flavor. So I took all three and combined them to make a mint chocolate chip cheesecake. So I actually appeased every single person sitting at the table, and each of them liked a different dessert, but they all got the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's just, part of being a chef is being able to think outside of the box and be creative.
Sure.
And I can't define how exponentially I have grown as someone in the kitchen since I started volunteering here. Because getting the surveys and thinking outside of the box and trying to make every single dinner I've done here different from the previous dinners.
Sure.
And when you get up to doing a lot, it becomes difficult to not repeat. I think I've made ceviche 10 different families, maybe more than that. And I'm running out of ways to serve it where it's, each one is unique.
It's okay to make a dish.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
A couple of times. It wouldn't kill you. It would not kill you. And certainly the family's not going to know.
Right.
It's not going to kill you. Think back. Let's think back to some of the more wilder dinners, especially when it comes to, we used to put on the application in the food questions, we would put wild game offerings, and you cook some crazy things.
It's funny because there was a run at one point in time before COVID kind of diminished, our availability. I was doing one dinner a month, sometimes more than one a month, to the point that you had to tell me I needed to back off or other chefs were going to stop volunteering because I was taking them all. But we had a run there where it was probably 5 out of 8 in a row that checked off they wanted wild game.
Right.
And like I mentioned with the cheesecakes, I refused to do the same thing twice. We've done, looking at the red meat wild game, I did a bison masala one time.
Elk.
We did
Elk.
I want to say that was
we did a wild boar crown roast. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. I've used alligator a couple times, used crawfish. I did I had rabbit I did for 2 different families. One of them, we did a braised rabbit minestrone soup. And the other one, we made ground rabbit meatballs and served that with some pasta as the appetizer course. Yeah. Because nobody gets up from my table hungry unless it's of their own choosing.
Yeah. Well, we don't do wild game anymore, and the primary reason is that we need to get that meat from an FDA certified facility, and while you can do that, it's just super expensive. And we budget $300 for a scratch meal for up to 10.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. Now, recently we had a warrior ask for Wagyu beef, and you had found somebody to donate and cover the cost.
A local contractor out in Rappahannock County, where I live, Paladin Construction. I put a post on Facebook saying, I had a warrior that wanted Wagyu, and, doing some research, getting online. The cheapest I could find was $100 a steak for a ribeye. And I think we were looking at 9 guests for that family, 8 or 9, something like that.
Yeah, it couldn't have been like a warrior and his wife.
No.
It had to be 9 or 10 guests. Yeah.
But so I was like, all right, that's not going to work, but it's what the warrior wants. So, I decided to get 2 flank steaks and do some rolled pinwheels. And I put that post on Facebook, which I do a lot. I post what my menu is, because there's a lot of people that follow that, like to see what we're doing and the whole process of putting a meal together. And
right.
John with Paladin, he sent me a private message and said, "You are not going to second rate what a warrior wants. I will pay for the steaks."
Yeah, that was awesome.
And it's a lot of people in the community that over the years step up and say, hey, what can I do to help out with this dinner?
Yeah.
Especially with the larger ones.
Yeah.
'Cause Chef Paul will tell you, Chef Ken is not known for staying in budget.
No. No, it's a competition between Chef Ken and Chef Paul about who's going to come in under budget. But
Paul usually wins. So
yeah, he does.
That's fine.
He does. So let's talk a little bit about our events. Now, we do have a number of events that involve food.
One today, as a matter of fact.
One today. We just got back from one. So our founders started this organization based on their minister talking to their church and their small groups about going out in the community and finding some good to do, and not really writing a check, but actually participating in delivering a service or doing something for someone. And they went to Walter Reed with some gifts and some pizzas and things like that. And they kind of got wiped out pretty quick. And they started to go back, and they kept going back for a number of years until a warrior convinced them that what they really needed was a place to get away. And so they incorporated our organization. They found this property, purchased it. And over the years, the community has put millions of dollars into the facility and just turned it into a really pretty amazing place. And we still honor that tradition today by going back to Walter Reed and to Fort Belvoir and putting on a lunch for warriors, their families, and other military on base. They can come by the USO and we'll provide lunch. Now, internally, we refer to it as a barbecue, but we don't do barbecue, mainly because they get plenty of barbecue from Mission Barbecue, and every church group you can imagine is down there giving them barbecue. So
barbecue or pizzas.
Yeah.
Or hamburgers, hot dogs. That's the norm that they're used to.
Yeah. So we try to go above and beyond. And you remember today's menu off the top of your head?
Sure, why not? I should. It was only, like 3 hours ago. We did a sauteed asparagus, red pepper, and barley salad with mixed greens and a garlic vinaigrette.
Mm-hmm. That's a cold salad.
Yeah, for cold salad. We did Swedish meatballs that we ground the meat and rolled 600 and some meatballs for today's event, after doing 700 in the beginning of the month for Walter Reed.
Walter Reed, right.
Did them in a buttercream sauce with some herbs.
Okay, and the meatball itself was pork and...
It was a combination all ground together of beef chuck, pork shoulder, right. Sweet Vidalia onions, fennel bulb, and some herbs, and a little bit of spices in there. I believe I used allspice. I don't remember what else off the top of my head.
Maybe some cumin?
No.
Okay. I think we did add one more thing. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. So many herbs and spices in my cabinet. Sometimes it's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
But we also served that with some smashed baby potatoes with a butter chive. And then we had Miss Laura. I have to give a shout out to Miss Laura.
One of our sous chefs.
Yeah, between Walter Reed and Fort Belvoir today together, she made probably close to 400 orange zest and molasses infused limpus rolls by herself.
Wow.
I can't imagine. I'm not a baker. I mean, I got my cheesecakes, but I can't imagine.
That is a lot of bread
by one person
in her kitchen at home, man.
Yeah. Wow. But we also had some Moscato spice pickle chips and lingonberry sauce.
Yeah, right. And your pickle chips were made how?
I don't like doing anything normal, if you haven't gathered that yet. But we made a brine which consisted of white vinegar, sugar, salt, dill, and a bottle of sparkling Moscato champagne. And then cooked that down a little bit, boiled it to get the alcohol out of the champagne, and then brined them for 3 days and took them with us to serve.
Yeah. And you sell them now, right? They're so good.
Yeah, we made them for Walter Reed, and everybody's like, "Oh my, oh my, oh my! I'll buy these. I'll buy these."
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of didn't have a choice on that one.
Yeah, you kind of got added to your product line there.
Yeah, got added in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so that was this year. Now, in previous years, we've done.
We did a full taco bar last year.
That's right, and it's Walter Reed actually landed on Cinco de Mayo last year.
Yeah.
Which was really awesome. So we did
And
that.
you wanted to
taco
do
bar.
Italian, and I'm like, how can we do Italian on Cinco de Mayo? No.
I don't pay much attention to the calendar. So that, and we do the same lunch at both to make it easy on ourselves
Right.
at both Walter Reed and Fort Belvoir. And then in the winter, we participate in the brigade holiday party down at Walter Reed, but we don't cook.
Yeah, we don't do any food service for that one.
Yeah, that's Outback brings in all their chefs from the region, and they do an amazing job. Give steaks to everybody down there. But then at Fort Belvoir, in December, we'll go down and we go to the Soldiers Family Assistance Center, the SFAC. A little bit smaller than the USO, but still.
Yeah, we have like a corner. The kitchen is a corner,
It-
so it's limited. In
It's very
space.
small, but we fit in there, and we crank out a lot of food.
Yeah.
Any idea what you're going to make?
I haven't even thought about December yet. We
Yeah.
got to get past our massive Thanksgiving feast we do first.
Yeah, that's true. So we do what we call as home away from home dinner, and we invite primarily single warriors who are in the dorms, part of the soldier recovery unit, but they're not with family at Walter Reed and Fort Belvoir. We invite them out on the Sunday before Thanksgiving for a complete home cooked Thanksgiving dinner. And when I say complete, we're smoking turkeys.
Yeah.
We just do turkey breasts just to make it easy on us.
Yeah, we roast about a half a dozen turkey breasts.
In a crock pots.
Yep.
And then we
Bone out and season and smoke 2 whole turkeys.
Yeah.
We did last
and
year.
the big green eggs. We have 2 big green eggs here.
We got the ham, the
Yeah.
sweet potatoes, the mashed potatoes, the green beans, the carrots,
Beets.
stuffing.
Remember those beets you did?
Yeah, the beets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were incredible. I just wish you'd written down the recipe.
I did this year.
Okay.
I found it and
Okay, good. I
wrote
gotta
it
get
down.
that.
So yeah, that's
So
a keeper.
that home away from home dinner, we feed about 50 there, and that's a pretty big event. So we're cooking almost all day Saturday. We're prepping everything, peeling a lot of potatoes. I know, when you did the beets, Chef Maggie was peeling the beets, and
Her and Chef Paul both their white chef coats covered in pink.
we have a great time. And it's a full complement. All of our volunteer chefs are there.
Yeah.
So we'll have
all hands on deck for that one.
Yeah, we'll have 10 people or so. In fact, this last Thanksgiving on Saturday, Tirabassi came out from Presidential Food Service.
Yep, he was able to help us out for a couple hours.
Yeah, Cameron Tirabassi is the senior chief there and is the team lead down there with Henry Taccaro at the White House. He came out and helped, and that was a lot of fun. Usually these events are 2-day things. We're prepping the day before, and then we all leave.
You all leave.
Chef Ken stays overnight here at the retreat, and you're up what time in the morning?
Typical for the Thanksgiving one. The last year, I think, was the first year I actually started on Friday. Do all the shopping on Friday, come Friday afternoon, start boning out the turkeys and getting them brined, and some other advanced prep. and spend the night. And I usually start about 8 o'clock Saturday morning, and the last volunteer, after everything is prepped and put in hotel pans and stored in the fridge or coolers, and then I usually get to bed around 11, maybe midnight, sometimes a little after that, and we'll get back up around 3 a.m. and start cooking everything.
Yeah, got to be cooked off.
Yeah,
and
put
put
in
in
hot boxes and hold them at
Cambros.
temp, and dinner service at 1.
Yeah. And then for the events like at Walter Reed and Fort Belvoir, it's sort of the same thing. You're up pretty early in the morning.
Got up this morning at 4 a.m. to start cooking.
And start reheating everything.
Yeah.
We had cooked off the meatballs already.
Yeah.
They just needed to be heated up so they could be put in the Cambros, and we could take them over to Fort Belvoir.
I mean, it's to kind of give us a sense or idea of the volume of what we do for Thanksgiving. It's usually event-specific donations that people make, and we'll spend anywhere between $1,000 and $1,200 to $1,300 in ingredients.
Yeah, right.
For the Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Wegmans. They support us on most of our events, really.
Yeah.
So for Walter Reed and Fort Belvoir, they provided us with a $500 gift card.
And then we have Miss Gail and
Yeah.
Mr. John and
a number of
Michael.
private donors who give us and just support these specific events, we're really thankful about that. So we think about wrapping up here, and what's your favorite memory of doing a dinner for a family?
I am glad you asked me that question. I have 2.
Okay.
There are 2 families that, okay, here we go. 3. There are 3 families that I'm not going to go any higher, I promise, that I probably will always remember. Small details. And each one is for its own reason. The first one, and I can picture their faces. I don't remember the name. It was a husband and wife. Both of them were retired military. I think they had like 35 to 40 years between the 2 of them.
Sure.
It was a situation where she was stationed overseas, was not able to watch her children grow. They were both retired at this point, and they were up in age. Her children were grown at this point, but we came in, and the husband hung out in the kitchen with us, and the wife kind of meandered in and then meandered right back out. And it was her birthday that weekend, and we gave them a meal. And I remember taking pictures out on the back deck, and both of them were smiling and laughing and having the time of their life. And the husband pulled me aside when we were wrapped up and get ready to leave and said that we had saved their marriage. That, it was over, it was done. They hadn't talked to each other. He couldn't remember the last time that they laughed together. And that's a lot of why we do what we do. It's not only part of the healing, the physical and the psychological, like we discussed, but it's a lot about bringing these families and these people back together. Because a lot of times, we've seen where there's separation, for whatever reason. I'm not going to go into the list of reasons that we've learned, but a lot of times, it boils down to, the warrior doesn't know how to handle, and the family doesn't know how to handle the warrior trying to handle what they're trying to go through. So, I mean, it's about, I think the epitome of the retreat is getting the families back together to be a family again. So that was my personal experience of probably the highlight on that one. My second one is Miss Ziani and her parents. This young lady I believe I had Chef Paul and Chef Dan here when we did their family. It was a large family. And this young lady, she 12, 13 at the time, maybe a little younger than that.
I think she was 11.
That's possible.
Yeah.
But she wanted to help. And this little young lady did absolutely everything that we put in front of her with enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And we had to force her to take off her chef coat and go sit down when it was time to start eating. She wanted to stay in the kitchen with us and plate everything. And she had made the comment to Paul that she wanted, her goal in life was to learn how to be a chef, and she wanted to have her own food truck. And she wanted to take that food truck and serve in inner city communities and help low-income families get a good meal out of her food truck.
Wow.
At 11 years old.
Yeah.
That's this girl's goal in life. You know, I mean, how can you not fall in love with that?
Yeah.
But we surprised her. I reached out to her mother through Facebook, and we surprised her, I think 2 years later. And Mom and Dad drove down here from Dover, Delaware.
That's right.
Dropped her off on Saturday.
Yep.
Without her having any idea what was going on.
No, she was so excited to see us.
Yep. We put that girl in the kitchen, and she helped us prep a Thanksgiving dinner all day. Yeah. Mom and Dad went into DC, left her in our care, and said, "Have fun, young lady."
Yeah, she had a great time.
Boy, did she.
Yeah. And then they came back and had dinner.
Yeah, had dinner on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But my absolute favorite, it was a warrior, his wife, his two daughters, or their two daughters, his mom, and I believe her mother and father, if I remember correctly. But this warrior's story, I don't remember exactly what nationality or country they were from, but she had taken him and they had emigrated to Spain to get out of a bad country situation they were in. And she opened up her own restaurant and became successful and sold it and retired nicely. The two daughters, the entire time we were prepping for the dinner on Sunday, the daughters were in and out of the kitchen, not running in and out or underfoot. They didn't want to help. They didn't want any part of that. Mom and Dad both put on chef coats and helped. But they just would come in and take a look, see what was going on. What's Mom doing? What's Dad doing? What are they preparing? Okay. And then just go back to, play somewhere in the house. But sat down for dinner. They had dinner. I guess it was maybe a week later. The guest stay coordinator sent me an email saying that the two daughters got up first thing Monday morning with Grandma.
I remember this.
And had gotten into the kitchen, made Mom and Dad a full breakfast spread with Grandmother's help, but they did the majority of the work themselves. And when Mom and Dad got up, they sat down at the table to have breakfast, and the two daughters took the food out to them and announced the course for breakfast, which is something we do as the chef team. When whether it be 4, 5, 6 courses, sometimes I've done. Each course is taken out. The plate is presented on the table, and then whoever is the chef in charge for that family, they will announce the course. What is it? How did we make it? And prepare it, and what are certain ingredients, what flavor profiles they can expect, and that sort of thing. Well, these two little girls, 10 or younger, I mean, they were young. They were probably both single digits in age, pulled this breakfast off for Mom and Dad. And that was probably the most rewarding story I've heard.
They announced the course.
And here I'm thinking they're not really paying attention. They're just coming in and checking out what's going on. Oh, no. These two were taking all of it in. Like they had this whole great evil plan that they had connived the whole time. Yeah. They apparently pulled it off without a hitch.
They're like sponges. Yeah. They just saw what was going on. Very impressed with it. So I have two. Unfortunately, neither of them involved you, and I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. I'm a team of many, and I'm okay.
The first one was a couple of Army intelligence analysts who were Chinese, Asian Americans, Chinese, and her parents came from China to be here with them, and Mom spoke no English, and we had a great dinner. I for the life of me, I can't remember who the chef was that night, but I never forget. There was no way to convince Mom not to do the dishes.
That's Larry's job.
No, we take care of everything, and the last thing we want them to do is worry about the dishes. But Mom was having none of that. I mean, she was ready to elbow me out of that sink area, boy, and finally we had to give up. And I remember that family fondly because they, when they came, each family gets a professional photo shoot while they're here at the retreat, and we. The guest day coordinator had told them about that, and they said, "Well, that sounded really good because we don't even have wedding pictures." And the guest day coordinator,
I remember this, yeah.
Bring your wedding dress, and they sat right on that pool table over there, and they had some amazing wedding photos taken, and they were just a really sweet family. I absolutely loved them, and then. One of my ultimate favorite is we had an amazing chef here, Chef Benedict.
Oh, the infamous Chef Benedict.
Yeah, he was a vegan chef, and everything he made was vegan, but nobody knew it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's really an amazing capability. He moved away, and which we were very sad about.
Relinquished his title of visiting chef of the year.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. We still today remember him fondly because as we go through the drawer and look at the wooden spoons, all of them that are
black burn band on them.
That's right. He would lay that spoon on top of that pot, and they all got burnt. But he made the warrior wanted a barbecue, and so he made pulled pork out of jackfruit. And it took 20 minutes to convince the warrior that wasn't pulled pork, that it was made from jackfruit, and that everything they were eating was vegan. Gosh, that was a great dinner, and he was so talented. He's really great, and in fact, he's not even a chef anymore. He's got his own repairman business or something down in Arizona, which is crazy, but. So those were two of my favorites, and we just love to really bring this program to the families because for many it's the highlight of their stay.
Yeah,
and the guys that come from Presidential Food Service, you've worked with them
a couple times.
Yeah, they're really awesome as well. Yeah. All the military chefs are fantastic, and we have chefs from the chairman's residence. Frida Carini, who's the chef over at the Naval Observatory for the vice president.
And then you've got the one that won Chopped.
That's
right?
Frida.
Yeah,
that's Frida. Yeah. So
I yield. I don't. I'm not even going to try. She won Chopped. I'm just a lowly, guy who likes to cook. You go, girl.
She's just awesome. Yeah, we're really, really fortunate that so many military chefs have really stepped up and said. This is their way of giving back, and we're very thankful for that. So, listen, thank you, Ken, for joining me and having a conversation about all the food programs that we have here. And for our listeners, hey, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. If you have any questions or any suggestions, you can reach out to us at podcast@willingwarriors.org. And so like and subscribe, and we'll see you. You have one more thing you want?
Well, I was going to do a plug. It's not a shameful plug, but it's as Larry mentioned. We do have a budget of $300 per family,
right?
That we spend. A lot of times, we get the requests for items that or based on the size of the family. So, all that comes out of, general funding.
Yeah.
So, if this is something that, piques your interest or you enjoy the concept, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to the retreat and say, hey, I'd like to sponsor a visiting chef dinner.
Yeah. That would be great.
That sort of thing. 'Cause, like I said, when you're doing 6 courses for 10 people, $300 sometimes doesn't really go very far.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only chef that has done some out of pocket stuff, just to make it happen. And a lot of, if not all of the chef team, we do what we do because in our minds they deserve it.
Yeah.
And it's honored to give back and never feel like it's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. So again, listen, shoot us an email if you got a suggestion about a show we should do, or any comments about this show, or anything, any questions about the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run. At willingwarriors.org is our webpage. You can see all about us there. And Ken, do you, you're on Facebook, your company's on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What is that?
Sinfully Indulgent by KB Culinary.
Okay.
And it's things that I've really almost all of the items are from growing and learning here. I have spice blends.
Mm-hmm.
The future holds infused oils and sauces and marinades and compound butters and things that are packed with a lot of flavor. And my goal is I'm in the process of working on the startup aspect of it, and locating myself a retail location. But my goal is to help the home cook make it a wow night.
Yeah.
That I can provide items or ingredients that they can use that, you don't need to bring a chef into the kitchen, and what that may cost to hire a private chef. But, I can add an aspect where, you use an ingredient that I can offer and it intensifies your flavor or your dish and that sort of thing. But and then there's the pickles, like you mentioned, because the populace didn't give me a choice on that one.
No, that was...
But also jerkies and the cheesecakes. And like I said, it's once I can get myself a retail location, all that's going to expand greatly. Greatly.
Great. Okay, but you do mail order, so please check out his Facebook page. And
thank you.
Yeah, you won't be disappointed, because I think here Americans would rather complain about their food than season it, really.
And salt is not the be all end all of seasoning food. I'm sorry.
No, you use salt while you're cooking, but you don't add salt when the food is done.
I'm not even a fan of adding salt while I'm cooking. You give me 15 other spices or herbs that I can add to an item, and you don't need the salt. That's just my humble opinion.
Okay.
I'm sure probably 75% of the chefs in the country will be like, what is he talking about?
Exactly.
But no, it's all about the flavor.
I'm giving you the evil eye right now. So.
He is. You should see this, really.
All right. Well, we got to call it a day. So, again, thanks for listening, and we'll have another episode next week.
All right. Thank y'all.
Bye.
The Welcome Home podcast is brought to you by Willing Warriors, a nonprofit organization serving active duty service members and veterans since 2012. To learn more, please visit our webpage at willingwarriors.org.